What's up, Crusaders? Welcome back to another episode of Arcade Crusade. In today's video, we are going to finish the whitewater restoration. That's right, this will be the final part in the whitewater restoration series. And all we're going to be doing today is we're going to pull the CPU board from the back box, desolder the RAM, install a socket, put our NVRAM in, and then I have a new game ROM to put in too. So this should just be a quick one, but it'll be a useful video for a bunch of people because it'll show you how to desolder the RAM on a WPC CPU board. So, got the camera set up over at the whitewater right now. And let me turn our light up a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so mainly what we're gonna do here, we're gonna be looking at this left board in the back box here. This board right here with the socketed ASIC, your game ROM. This board right here is your CPU board. So what I suggest you do before you go ahead and do this, go ahead and take pictures of your connections to your cabinet switches down here, ribbon cable connection, power connection, all your ribbon cable connections. So I'm just going to go through and let me make sure we can see properly. All right, so I'm just going to go through one by one and remove our connections. So I'm just going to start at the top. All right, so there's two ribbon cables out. All right, and now just the cabinet switches that have to get disconnected. All right, and that is everything disconnected, and you can just kind of bend your connections back, get them out of the way for now. And then this has what looks to be 6 screws here. And on WPC boards, you can actually, I think, yeah, all of them slide up and into place. So you can just loosen your screws and slide the board out. So just get your screws loose, and I don't think we need to take them all the way out. Tighten that up a little bit. We'll see if we got enough play or if we need to take our screws out. It looks like these are loose enough. Yep, we can just leave our screws in, and I'm just kind of stuck on the wires here. All right, so let me, well, actually you can see pretty well there. That's our entire CPU board removed. Where we're gonna be looking is right under this game ROM. The game ROM here is at U6. What is at U8 is our soldered in RAM. So we're going to go ahead and desolder this from the board, put a socket in, install our NVRAM. I'm going to pop this ROM out because I have an L5. This is version L4. I have L5, which is the latest one. So we're going to put an L5 ROM in. But yeah, that's it. Just loosen those 6 screws, slide the board out. So I'm going to take this over to the workbench. We'll get our soldering iron and desoldering pump heated up, and then we can go ahead and take this RAM out. All right, guys, so we are back over at the workbench, and one thing I just wanted to point out before we do anything at all, basically you need to look at the number on your RAM that is soldered into the board. Most of the time, as you can see right on here, this is a 6264 written right there, 6264 RAM. So that is the type of NVRAM you're going to want to install. Some WPC boards use 62256 RAM, so I would suggest getting 62256 NVRAM if you have a 62256. WPC boards, you can install a jumper, I believe it's a W3 right here. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But anyway, you can install a jumper there, and you could either use a 6264 or 62256, but if you don't want to make jumper changes, just go ahead and match whatever number is written on there. So just wanted to point that out before we got started. And then the other thing I'd like to point out, in order to do this, you'll need a couple different things, and I'll zoom out. You will need a decent soldering iron to solder your socket in. I suggest getting a flux pen, and if you don't have a flux pen, you could just use solder and reflow solder on all your solder points before you desolder. But the point of this is a flux pen gets all of your solder joints, it applies flux to all your solder joints, and they're gonna melt a lot better with your desoldering iron than they would. And then the other thing that we're gonna be using is I have a desoldering pump. So it's basically just a vacuum pump, hole in the center of the soldering tip, and that's that over there. Hole in the center of the solder tip, and it sucks the solder through it. I don't suggest doing NVRAM installs with a solder sucker. The traces on WPC boards are very small, and if you use a solder sucker, you're just going to end up applying heat too long. You might suck up your trace. There's just too many things that you may screw up. I really suggest getting a good desoldering station if you plan on doing this. I have a review video posted on the one that's right there. It's the Pros Kit SS331. I got it for $60 on AliExpress, and it's been great so far. So we'll see how it does with this install. But yeah, you'll just need, I suggest getting a flux pen, some solder station, desolder station, and then I just have a flathead screwdriver to pry our chip up at the end. But that's all you'll need to do this install. So let me get the camera set up. We'll look at the back side of the board right here at U8, and I'll just hit it with some flux, and then we will desolder that chip. Alright guys, so we're set up at the bench over here, and what we are going to be looking at is, I got the board flipped over. Right above our ASIC, which is our square socketed chip right here, is our RAM chip. And your RAM is actually a couple pins shorter than your ROM, so you can't really mix them up. It's the only chip right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flux pen, and I'm just going to come in, and I'm just going to apply some flux to both sides of the pins. And what this does is it just allows heat to transfer and your solder to melt a little bit nicer than it would if we didn't have flux applied. So we got flux applied to our pins there. And I'm just gonna make sure, might add a little bit there. It's having some trouble coming out. It's a little dried up. All right, that should be enough flux for what we're trying to do here. Now I'm going to take my desoldering pump, and I'm just gonna come in here and pin by pin desolder this. So really, all you need to do with this is just, and I'm gonna use two hands just to be steady, but I'm just gonna come pin by pin and just put it on and suck. And some people will put it on and kind of move it around, but I just put it on with some light pressure, let it sit for a second, and suck the solder. Alright, and that is an entire row of pins desoldered. I left that one corner pin still in just to keep the chip in, and now I will go to the top set of pins and just one by one just come down on it just gonna suck and make sure my nozzle's cleared up. And that's just pin by pin, so we'll just get this last pin on the corner and get this last pin on the corner here. I just want to make sure we're not clogged here because those last ones didn't come out as nicely as I would have liked them to. I'm just gonna closely inspect this board here. So I'm just gonna come back in, and all of mine that didn't get desoldered nicely because my gun wasn't hot enough, I'm just gonna come back in with my soldering iron, and I'm just gonna add solder to all of those pins. And like I said, I'm just going pin by pin, just adding a little bit of solder to make our desoldering job a bit easier. Add a little more on the end there. It didn't get that much, neither. Alright, so that should make it a bit easier for this to come in and desolder these. So make sure we got good suction there, we do. And I'm just gonna come in pin by pin, and let me move this up a little bit. Yeah, that makes our lives a lot easier. All right, so I'm just gonna make sure my gun is completely unclogged, and then we will take a closer look at our work. All right, my gun is completely unclogged. I'll go ahead and clean that after we're done here, but I'll set my gun in its holder. I don't know why the temperature went down. I must have hit a setting or something, because it should not go down. I don't know why it did that. I must have hit a setting or something. But if you look at our socket right there, I'll try to get it without a glare, or I mean our chip, you can see every single through-hole solder joint is completely cleared of solder. So we should be able to just bend this chip up on the other side of the board and it should pop right out. So I went ahead, if you ever have complications with things not coming up like I was having, the main thing that you want to do is add some new solder to that joint and then come back in with your desoldering tool, and then it'll suck up all the new solder with it, and it'll clear out the hole like right away. After I did that, now I have my new socket in place. So what I did is I just pushed my socket through the top side of the board, and it is in place. We have our notch on the right side the way it should be. And we should be able now to just, it's in place and actually holding pretty well where it's at. And now we can just go ahead and come to the back side and just come pin by pin and add some solder. So apologize if my hand's in the way holding the solder, but what I like to do when I start here is I like to just add solder at the 4 corners. And just make sure you got nice even joints on your corners here, and then we will just go pin by pin and just add our solder. And just make sure you don't apply too much heat to these joints because this board has very thin traces like I said earlier. So you're just going to go pin by pin and apply your solder. Alright, now I got that entire side. I'm just going to clean my soldering iron off and we will now do this side. And I'm just going pin by pin, adding new solder on our brand new socket. And if you don't have any complications desoldering, this can be a 10-minute install. Like, take the board out, get it on the bench, and in 10 minutes have it all completely back together. So I'm pretty happy with this entire side. I'm going to add a little bit of solder there, but I'm happy with all those joints. And now on this side, all of these joints could just use a little bit more solder. All right, and all of those look pretty good to me. Looks like a pretty good install with all of those. Yeah, we got nice clean solder joints, all of those, no lifted traces. Our socket is in nice and solid, and our solder flowed through. So socket's in nice and solid, so we're good there. The next thing that we're gonna do before we put the NVRAM in, because it's a little bit bigger, I'm going to go ahead and pull the Game ROM right here. And the best way to pull a chip like this is just what I'm doing right here with the flathead. And just come directly underneath the center and just slowly give it pressure on each side until your chip falls out. And there, we're almost out. Should pretty much be out after this one. We'll just get this front corner out, and there we go. That is our Game ROM pulled out. And then I have a brand new Game ROM from Matt's Basement Arcade. This is actually LH-6, so 2 versions. This is the Home ROM 6. It adds a ball saver and a few other things that we don't normally get. So the only thing we got to make sure of is that our notch on our pin, which is on the right side here, it matches the notch on the socket, and that just kind of tells you where your ground is at. So just go ahead and bend it into the socket like I did, and make sure you're nice and centered, and give it a nice solid push with your thumbs, and that's in. So we can put our game ROM to the side. We got our socket in and it is installed, and I'm going to clean my iron before I forget. Alright, so like I said, we got our socket installed, our new ROM is installed, and all we need to do is now put in our NVRAM. So I got a 6264 NVRAM from Pinball, and all you want to do is just line up your leads with your socket like I'm doing right here, and just give it a firm push into the socket like I just did. And now we got NVRAM installed, our new game ROM is installed, and we can now take this board and put it back into the cabinet. So alright, so now we're back over at the cabinet. We can drop our CPU board back in, and you really just want to make sure everything's out of the way as you go to put this in. And a good way to start is to get the corners on first, just because the corners are a little bit different in terms of the holes, and then you can go ahead and get the rest of it on. Just make sure you aren't stuck behind any wires or anything. It's really your biggest concern as you go to put this back on, is you don't want to be stuck on any wires. Once you make sure all your wires are out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one because we're stuck. All right, and there we go. We dropped right into place. So now we can take our screwdriver, and again, just double check all your wires are completely out of the way. And they are. We gotta. Alright, so completely out of the way, we can go ahead and tighten all these up, and I'm just gonna not get them super tight, but just start to get them tight. You don't want to crank down the corners like really bad, because you'll crack the board if you tighten them too much. Just be careful at the corners. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and tighten every screw on this board. Alright, nice and solid there. Corner is tight enough. Alright, that corner's tight. So now we can just go ahead and hook up all of our connections. So power connection first. We'll get this ribbon cable attached. This ribbon cable ran all the way over here. Alright, there's both of those ribbon cables fully on. And then the last thing is our cabinet switches, and I'm just going to double check my picture before I put these on. So let me test this. Alright, yep, just this one at the bottom. Green was in the center, and white was all the way on the end. So once you get all three of those in place, just double check your work, make sure you got everything right, make sure you're not off a pin, make sure all your ribbon cables are pressed down, and we should be good now. So I can just go ahead and put our DMD back in. All right, so we'll go ahead and turn the game on. Booting up with the new LH-6 ROM. And we are back on, nice and bright. Bigfoot's turning on. All right. Let's see what it gives us in our test report. Probably just time and date not set. Well, let me grab the keys out of this. Yep, just time and date not set, so let's go ahead and set our time and date. It is 4:30. All right, time and date are set. Set our custom message later. Let me check if there's any other. Override our minimum volume, that way we can change it however we would like. Match gives a credit. Our special, extra ball, replay. We're on free play, so we want it to be an extra ball when you get a replay. Alright, we can leave 3 tilt warnings, 4 extra balls. Should be fine for now. Ball save time. It's on 3 seconds. Let's make it 5. should be pretty much everything. We got on free play. Alright, credit dot is gone, so we can go ahead and play our first game. It's a little bit better with the lights on for the camera, because you can actually see. I can try to find a spot where we can see both the DMD and the game. All right, that should be pretty good. So let me turn down the volume a little bit so you can actually hear. And 7 should be all right. Go ahead, I still have the glass off right now. I put new balls in it, so we can just go ahead and play our first game of Whitewater now that everything's back together. The light plunge to the upper flipper, and into Insanity Falls. Right into No Way Out. We already got our first ref. We shoot the whirlpool here. It'll lift out. There we go. That first lock. Alright, what I was saying was if we shoot our whirlpool, we can start whirlpool challenge, which is a little 2-ball multi-ball. You're trying to get, there we go, trying to get 6 balls into the whirlpool, and if you do it, I think it gives you like 20 million or something like that. So little 2-ball multi-ball starts. You just want to try to give it a light plunge to the upper flipper. That was too hard. I'm screwing myself now. Once you make that first switch shake, you gotta try to get that ball back up to the upper flipper. Try to shoot the whirlpool. There we go. There we go. There's another one put away. Last chance. Oh, it rimmed out on us. Maybe we might get last chance to get 9 million up here. Did it give it to us? I don't think it did. I wonder if this, on some Whitewaters, the spine chiller shot's backhandable, and I wonder if we get tight enough backhand, if we can backhand it, but it's fine, we should have to now. Nice two-way combo right there. Ooh, bounce off the river targets down the middle. So I mean, it seems like everything is playing pretty well right now. Just gotta put the glass and the back glass on, and this one's basically done. Got a ball save. All right, if we shoot the whirlpool, it'll start man overboard. There we go. All right, so we gotta shoot that left loop. That's the only flashing hazard right now. Yeah, I gotta fix the lineup for that, see if we can trap up here. There we go. Nice tip over. Ooh. Alright, so we'll give it a light plunge up, and we'll try to hit Insanity Falls. Hopefully that one comes back. There we go. And we whipped it, but shoot No Way Out. got our second lock lit up the middle. Now we can light plunge. That might be too hard. Now it's coming back. Light plunge, shoot the whirlpool. There we go. Advances our raft, and I believe we just got replay as well. Yeah, so we got an extra ball on replay. Let's see, we got mystery cannon. If we can get our mystery award, if we can get our mystery award to be 5x playfield and we stack that with multi-ball, it can be very lucrative. So I'm gonna try to shoot into those pop bumpers and just hope we get lucky coming out of the pops. All right, so we're at 5x playfield right now on our mystery award, so oh God, that rim out back from the middle. I might have to fix the alignment up there. All right, so you want to prep the whirlpool shot like I just did. Oh, and there. No, we still got 5x playfield lit. You want to trap up here, and there, right up the middle. Now we can start 5x playfield and hopefully start multi-ball right away. So this will start 5x playfield. Now if we shoot the green left lock target, we can light our third lock, trap our ball, start 5x playfield with multi-ball going, and I have to fix that kick out because it's just kicking right into the ball guide. And normally what you're supposed to do is hold that flipper up and the ball kind of tips off of it and goes in. So it's kicking the balls up top. But yeah, that's just a first game on whitewater. Now that it's done, take the camera off the stand. We'll take a closer look at everything. So you can see, everything clean and waxed. Novus 2 P21S. We got a hair on the playfield. My own hair. Get that off. Non-ghosting clear LEDs in all of the inserts, and then cool white frosted everywhere else. We got our cool white frosted behind the mountains back there. Let me go ahead and turn the light off. Turn this one off too, and we'll get pretty good sight. Yeah, so you can see it's completely lit back there behind the mountains. It just kind of illuminates the entire upper playfield. And entire upper playfield clean and wax, rebuilt, new flipper bats, new rubber on everything. I did blue and white frosting in the whirlpool. I think it looks a lot better than the original red. All of our pop bumpers, cool white frosted in there. They're lit nice and evenly. Orange rubbers for the posts there. But yeah, everything's back together and fully working. We can go ahead and put our back glass on. Oh yeah, I made custom instruction cards. I don't know if I showed this already. I went ahead and went into Photoshop, and I found a nice high-res image of the decals for the apron, and I copied this design right here and put it around as the border. I found the original plastics that came with the game, and I put that, and that's all the rules that I kind of wrote up. I made them make a little more sense than the original instruction cards had them. And then the other side, I just put the logo and go with the flow. So just a nice look for the apron. I did put rubbers on these posts. Some people don't. I just like the look of them with rubbers more than most. LED in the start button, in the coin door, translucent blue shooter rod, new legs, levelers. Everything's pretty much done on this one. I just want to grab the glass for it. Oh yeah, we can look at the topper. Hold on. stuck there. Yeah, I can go ahead and put the glass on. CH95. There we go. Just so it's not as blinding. Yeah, you can really see with cool white, the glass on this game, like, it really pops more than it originally did. Like, it is, just because all the water and all the colors that they use, you know, they just really bring out the cool colors in the back glass, and they make it a lot brighter. So focus on the play field there. Yeah, in real life, it's not as badly like blown out at the, it's just because you're seeing direct light at the pop bumpers and in the back, but you know, it's actually not too bad. Middle of the play field is pretty well lit, even without like spot lamps or anything. You can see, I have the lights off, you can see pretty much all of the play field, no problem at all. Yeah, and then I put little rafts on Insanity Falls, and the upper to lower ramp brings the ball back down to the flipper. And actually this ramp right here has a little bend in it up here, and I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do. I might have to replace it due to the bend, just because the ramp itself is bent. Otherwise I might try to have some adhesive, and I'll take this off and put some adhesive on the bottom of the upper playfield so that it actually sticks down. But that's really the only thing I've noticed when playing that, and I gotta fix the Lost Mine kick out. But aside from that, I don't really see anything else that needs to get fixed right now. And you know, the more you play it, you'll have to adjust things. But you know, our end of stroke switch gaps are good. Our flippers are lined up nice. You know, all the shots feel right. But yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know how many parts this ended up being, you know, 7 or 8. But it was basically tore down to all the posts, cleaned and waxed, polished, everything that we could. Anything that was broken, we replaced it. So pretty much everything has been gone over on this game. Topper's been completely cleaned. Original decals are in great shape, so we don't have to worry about that at all. Original topper was in good shape, it just needed to be cleaned. Yeah, we got a new ramp for Bigfoot and a new disaster drop ramp. I'm thinking at some point I will replace Insanity Falls. And I might replace this upper to lower if this lip keeps bothering me. Yeah, no, if Insanity Falls ends up cracking over time, it usually cracks like down here. If it ends up cracking, I'll replace that. But at least we have, Insanity Falls is easy to replace, upper to lower is easy to replace. Those are the two easiest ramps in the game to replace. The ones that are buried the most is the Bigfoot ramp, which we replaced, and Disaster Drop, which we replaced, and Whirlpool, but I don't care too much about Whirlpool, because that one, the ball just kind of goes down and in, so not that big of a deal for the Whirlpool, but I could replace that one as well. That one will be way more work to replace though, so I don't plan on replacing that. And that one was in pretty good shape. That was probably the best shape ramp that I had. This one was in good shape too, aside from the little bend that we're noticing now. And I didn't notice that before because the previous owner had a piece of Mylar over it. And now it explains why that Mylar was there, because he didn't want the ball to get hung up there. I do have a slight crack in this mountain here, but I put a small washer on it when I was putting it back together. Seems to be holding all right. Haven't seen any issues with it. There's a slight hole in this boulder here. Doesn't bother me. So just little stuff. It's usually you see mountains that are way more cracked. These mountains are in great shape, but that was really a full teardown, rebuild, NVRAM, pretty much everything you want to do to a game. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the entire restoration. Thanks for watching the entire series, guys. You know, I know it was quite a long one. It took a little bit longer than Twilight Zone did, but I tried to make the videos on this one a little bit shorter, more consumable. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll have another restoration project soon.